Geeks at the Nerd Table, Season 2, Episode 8 review and finale of Rings of Power. All right, it's not just myself again. I have the one and only George in the house.
Yo, New Morican in the house, baby. Let's talk this Lord of the Rings Season 2 finale.
Yes, let's get into this. All right. General overview, since we have talked last at the mid-season, how are you feeling about the show?
First of all, episode 7 was phenomenal. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't review episode 7 because I watched it like 3 times and wanted to talk to you about
it. Okay, cool. Well, if that's the case, then yeah, episode 7 put me at a cliffhanger that I wasn't thinking that I needed. It felt Lord of the Rings. I felt like it was like it almost felt like the Return of the King fight when they were just like they were at Minas Tirith and they're getting their butts whooped, and then boom, guess who pops up? Rohan. They kind of saved the day a little bit. That same kind of feeling happened in there, and it was just epic. It was gory. It was kind of crazy, the little change ups that happened going into episode 8 with the elves, or not the elves, the orcs kind of switching sides, and they leave the guy, I forgot his name,
Aldolf,
yeah, they leave
Adolf,
right?
Adar. Yeah, that's right.
And they flip sides on Adar, and it's so deceitful. It was crazy. And then get into episode 8, it's a little bit not as climactic as episode 7 was, but it set the stage. It set the stage for a possible next season. Hopefully, I do like the show. We spoke about it last time. I do like the show. I would like to continue the show. But there were some things that kind of tipped me the wrong way in the last episode. But yeah, before I get into that, what are you thinking, Frank?
Episode 7 was such a hype. I watched it 3 times. It was so crazy. Like you said, it felt like Lord of the Rings. It felt like one of the big battles. It felt like Helm's Deep. It felt like the final battle. It just felt like so much of that. And every time you have like the one army, and then all of a sudden another army comes in to the rescue, and it just is perfect. I kind of the orcs flipping. I seen that coming.
I saw it coming too, but I didn't know that
where they're like, you could see it a little bit before, and there was a little bit of subtext. If you watched, what was it, episode 6 with subtitles, it literally called out the orcs that the one elf hunted down as like defectors. I forget what it exactly said, but it called them out as being running away.
Interesting.
So like you kind of had a little bit of a hint that like some of the orcs are going to defect. Some of the orcs are going to swap sides.
I didn't. Yeah, definitely didn't see that. Was that like subtitles?
Yeah, if you put it in subtitles.
I gotta at least watch
it one time with subtitles on and picked it up, but I did.
So funny enough, there's a scene in the last episode that I had to rewind real quick to be like, wait, what did you just say? And we'll talk about that part later. But that was the only time throughout the series that I've actually put subtitles on. I may go back and just rewatch it again now and just double check it, make sure I didn't miss anything. But yeah, first time run through, I always got to do it without subtitles because I'm like, I know I'm going to miss something. So let me just make a reason for me to come back to it later.
And if I have subtitles on, I'm going to read the screen and I'm not going to watch.
Yeah,
and
I would have.
Everything looked so good.
Like, yeah, I think the $1 billion was in that episode 7. Episode 7 had $1 billion alone. Okay. But it was so good. And like, even the part where Elrond took that little brooch off, and then you completely forget about it to find out that was a
slide.
Super smooth, bro. Super smooth.
That was brilliant.
Yeah, I'm like, Genius,
Yeah.
genius, genius, genius. And it's funny because, like, in the beginning of season one, we didn't see Elrond as a military leader. They were almost kind of making him try to be more diplomatic, right? Because they were like, "You're a half elf. You're not a full elf. You're a half elf." And he was very more so on the side of like politics, and that was what I got a lot of in season one. And in season two, he's becoming the warrior that we're going to see in the ultimate finale when he fights at that final battle with men
Mhm.
and all that stuff. So we're getting to that point. They just got to fix my man's hair because it ain't working for me. I need the long.
So
Gilgalad has his
true.
hair. Like they gave the hair to the wrong guy.
Yeah.
I need
So true.
Elrond's hair to be just flowy.
Flowy and yeah.
Yeah, just swap wigs. It's fine.
I mean, he was sly as a commander.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I very, very smooth, tactical. Um,
mhm.
and he was like every move he made was a a a, a move that was thought out like 5 steps ahead. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Him going to the dwarves and calling on them to help out with this fight, which was
Mhm.
scary to me because they almost didn't.
Yeah.
They almost didn't, and I think that was the
Yeah.
part that, like, with that whole scene with, Durin and Durin, um,
Mhm.
yeah, that whole thing with Durin and Durin is crazy, you know, because there was so much just battling of those 2 going back and forth, and then Durin attacking his own men to go and start digging in the mines more. It's like, this guy's he's gone. He's gone, and the only person
Yeah.
that could save him was his son, and he ultimately did in that last episode. It was crazy.
Oh, that was let's just talk about Doran and
Yeah.
that's just nuts. I mean, you get called Doran the Sun gets called by Elrond to like go and fight, and he's so close to doing it.
Mhm.
And in episode 7, you're literally sitting there like, when are they going to show up? When are they going to show
Right,
up? They don't
and
come. They're
never
not
show up,
coming.
dude.
This is pointless. This they are going to lose. They're not coming. Uh, and then you get the ultimate save at the end in
Mhm.
8
Oh, yeah.
of them showing up. You know, that is Helm's Deep, uh, Riders of Rohan
Yup,
show up on
with
the 7th day,
yup, and
you know.
Gandalf right there on the top with his
Yep.
staff, and the lights come down right behind with the sun. Oh, that was perfect timing.
Yeah. But it's a little bittersweet because, you know, you have his commander literally say, "He's in mourning." It was
Yeah,
so quick. And
yeah,
you're just like, "Wait, what? Oh, wait,
yeah.
yeah." With his
We knew what happened, but if
yeah,
for a split second, I was thinking that that was him until he pulled the little face shield off, and it's
shield
like,
off.
it's not him, and it's you know what, it's crazy because it's like, this man had to go fight his father instead
Mhm.
of going to fight a war or a battle that they were about to have. And that fight with his father, that one-on-one fight, probably did more to him mentally and physically than he would have had if he had to fight that actual battle.
Yeah,
You know what I
totally.
mean? Because that was something that he wasn't prepared to do. And even he said it multiple times. He's like, if I had to put an axe to you, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
You know, that was
He's not
a and
strong enough.
he wasn't strong enough. And that conversation with him talking about his dad being like, when we used to arm wrestle, you used to give me that little split second to make me think that I would win and that I had hope. And the father really flipped it on him, and he's like, I didn't. You were strong. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, snap. Like those lines like that are just so impactful, dude. It was such a good
And the
conversation.
timing of that line, because that
Yes.
was when he's about to sacrifice himself.
About to
That's when he
sacrifice
took the
himself.
ring off, you
Yeah.
know.
Took the ring off. And then we see the big
Yeah.
bad fiery demon, uh,
Yes.
Balrog.
The shadow, yeah.
Balrog, dude.
Shadow
And
and fire.
it's so crazy how he went up to him and like took him head on. Like he literally took his axe, swung it behind his back, and just charged and jumped at it. You know what I'm saying? It was just one of those things like, I don't even need to see what happens. I just know that running into it and just doing that, I'm just imagining like, oh snap, like this dude's really trying to fight this demon.
Yeah.
Like the Balrog is not a force to be reckoned or a force to like, oh, this is an easy little guy to fight. Like, no, Gandalf had to fight him flying down and almost lost that battle himself. So you're thinking a wizard
He
almost lost.
technically did lose that battle himself.
He
He
did.
died in the process of fighting him.
He died in the process, was still able to kill him, but died in the
Yeah,
process.
yeah, exactly. It was like a
Yeah.
total sacrifice,
Yeah.
you know?
But that right there was just epic, just seeing that because we saw a glimpse of him early on in the season, and it was, like, definitely like a foreshadow, like, "Hey, you dig
Yeah.
any further into my minds, like, there'll be consequences,"
Oh,
and of
you've seen
course
it several times. You've seen the
yeah,
shadow, you've seen the Belrock in the fire.
then they
Uh,
had the shaking of the rocks when,
mhm,
Lisa went in there and started trying to sing or something like that.
yeah.
Um, yeah, it was crazy, man. Such a beautiful visual. Like if I could get a poster of that, I would just get the Balrog in the background with Durin and just about to like smack him
The axe
down, dude.
up,
Give me
ready.
that. Just give me
Yeah.
that poster. Give me that.
Oh, man, that was a and that I felt was a fitting wrap up to the Dwarven story
Yes,
in this
but
season,
there for the season because now
for the season.
there's nothing holding Durin, the youngest Durin, back from helping out the elves. You know what I
Mhm,
mean? That camaraderie now is gonna be a lot stronger, and we're gonna see that, which is crazy because in the original movie, when they're talking about Sauron and the forces fighting him and stuff like that, they never showed dwarves. But I'm 100% sure there were dwarves. So now I think we're gonna be able to see that with men and
mhm.
elves. Because they only said men and elves went to Mordor, fight them or whatever. They never said dwarves went to,
Well,
unless
I
if
wonder
something
if
happens before that.
there's I wonder with the dwarves if they actually succumb to the rings and succumb to that greed.
That's a possibility because we see them in the well, no. Well, maybe because if you think of like the Hobbit trilogy and you talk about Smog and stuff like that was all their gold. So maybe they went digging further and wound up finding like gold reserves, and they were just like, "No, this is all we're gonna do."
Well, that's also a different kingdom. That's the Misty Mountain.
Right.
So, that is another kingdom that
Well, didn't they give rings to different
to all, like, the
dwarven?
7 dwarven
Yeah,
kingdoms. Yeah.
right. So then it could be part
Because
of it. Yeah.
at the end of the story of 8, they have, uh, his, like, commander telling him that, like, the other lords have been paying all this money and expect something, and they
Hmm.
show the rings,
Yep.
and he's I forget what exactly he says, but he says something to him like, "They're not gonna answer to somebody that doesn't have a ring."
I missed that.
And you see the ring that Doran was wearing, like, glimmer, like, it's going
Dude,
to tempt him to actually wear a ring, and then what's gonna happen?
well, here's the thing, right? And it's crazy because you say that about Durin, and we had Elrond who was defying it as much as he can from using it, and guess what? He wound up using it. I don't
Yes.
think it has anything to do with the want of wearing the ring. I think it's just the need of the particular reason for that person. Because like
Yeah,
Elrond was able to gain extra power from the ring to essentially bring back Galadriel. I think
yeah,
right? It was Galadriel, yeah.
yeah,
So he was like, "Just this once, I'll use it." And so I wonder if Durin will be the same way. Just this once for diplomacy, will I show it? You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, "Hey, I'm here with the
exactly.
ring. I'm rocking it." You know, I
I
didn't
have
intentionally
power.
pull this hand
Yeah.
out, but but yeah, like I have it. It's mine. You know what I mean? So that's a possibility. But there's definitely I would definitely like to see the dwarves at that final battle, though. That'd be kind of sick.
It'll be interesting. Or see a reason why the dwarves aren't there.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting to see. Uh, well,
Speaking of
we
rings, okay,
yes.
you're good.
No. Go where
Okay.
you're going. Yeah.
Well, so speaking of rings, Sauron's got the nine.
Mhm.
So now, where do we see Sauron going? Do we see Numenor and him being in Numenor? Does it happen to be where, this is where we get the fall of Numenor because he's on Numenor and passing out these rings and all that other stuff? Like we saw how bad it got with the dwarves. Imagine with the men who are the
Mm.
most corruptible. And it's already messed up because Numenor is already jacked up with the new king they have.
What if the rings I would agree with you. I think, yeah, Sauron's going the Numenor, I
Yeah,
think.
because that's
Yeah,
the only main civilization for men as of right now. Because we don't
yeah.
have Rohan, we don't have Gondor. Those places haven't been made yet. And if they
Those
have,
places come of Numenor,
right.
of the lineage.
So a lot of that's gonna come from Isildur and his father, because now he's
Mhm.
he's gone. He's off. He's been banished to Middle Earth. And here's the thing. He can start making Gondor. You know what I mean? And I think if I'm really hoping Theo, Theo is the lineage of Rohan and its kings.
Right? Is he? Yeah.
Because isn't Theo the like they have Theo, Theoden, Theodore, like they have all these names. They're
Mhm.
all referencing off
Yeah.
of that. So I think Theo is going to be the leader of Rohan. Because that's
Interesting.
why
Okay.
who is this kid? Why is he important? He hasn't shown anything but being a little pain in the ass. You know what I mean? Like he's just complained, complained, complained. I know he lost his mother, and I get it.
Well,
Um,
unless he's one of the first to get deceived and to, like,
I
use
mean,
a ring
listen,
of power in the dark way.
I don't see why not. I mean, that'd be a perfect way
Yeah.
because Rohan was never a fully like it was uh a good nation of men, but it wasn't a fully thriving nation of men. It was almost kind of like how do you call it? Not peasant like, but very like we don't have that status. Like they almost remind me of like
Yeah.
Vikings.
Yeah, they had that
Like
more of, like, the wanderer or the tribal nation
right. Yes, very
as
tribal.
opposed to the official, like, kingdom and
Mhm.
established city states
Yeah, like
and everything.
Gondor or Rohan had a king, obviously, but they never felt like they were like little pockets of grassland villages.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas,
He was the
like,
king of the tribes, you
right,
know?
exactly.
Yeah.
And then where Gondor was always felt like it's the regal city. You know what I mean? You have Minas Tirith, then you have all these massive fortresses that they had um,
Yeah.
that came along from all of the funds and all of the wealth of Gondor. So, so we'll start
Yeah.
seeing that now that we got Isildur's father coming into Middle Earth, um, and then now Numenor knowing that Isildur is alive
Mhm.
because they were just like, "Hey, we were looking for you." No, you weren't. I was here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Well,
I'm excited.
that whole scene going down with, like, him thinking, like, "Oh, I can get this girl that I like back to Numenor with me," and then,
That's
like, "Nope,
sleazy.
your father's a traitor,
That
and you're a traitor too," kind of.
dude. First of all, the girl's husband was there the whole time.
Yep.
Like you were a sleazy man, bro. Like, come
And
on. You're sitting there like, I'm gonna take you to Numenor, but my husband, like, what are you gonna do with him? Like,
and her husband, like, moves over to her like,
yeah,
what you trying to do, bro?"
yo. And then the crazy part is like he heard him say, "Hey, there's room for one more." And you're like, "Yo, bro, you about to take my woman,
Yeah.
dude?" Shoot. It was funny. I was watching it and I was like, man, this sounds oddly familiar. And the first thing that popped in my head was Jada Pinkett with August Alsina and Will Smith. Uh,
Somebody's about to get slapped.
no, keep my wife's name out your mouth. But dude, it was just like a
Oh.
weird, like, it's like a weird love triangle. And it was like, bro, you're not even trying to be sneaky. Like, at least August was being
No.
sneaky.
No, it wasn't even sneaky at all, man.
No, not
That
at
was
all, dude. He was
crazy.
like literally, and he's not even whispering. He's like, "Yeah, is there room for one more?" Like, and
Like,
just
come on, one more.
and dude goes up next to his wife, like, "Hold up, wait." And he's like, he gets bro overprotective, like starts to like wrap his hand around her hand or something like that to make sure I'm like, and she's just looking like, "Damn, he really just did that." But I would have went. Because she would
Exactly.
have went. I
The scene
swear to God, she
before,
would have went.
she's like, "My husband's building a new house for us. Like, what
Right.
do you got to offer?"
He's like, I got a whole country. Like
Yeah.
he pulled out the whole status card.
"I'd love you to come to Numenor."
Bro, it's like
And
you are you're yeah, you testy. You definitely testing people right now. And it's
right?
like, I
That was
mean,
just crazy.
give him props for trying.
Yeah, but he's about to be heartbroken and realize he's bottom of the barrel.
Yeah,
And
so
his father is getting
he's
exiled.
with he's in the city with the guy. So like this guy can now retaliate and be like, I'm gonna try to kill you because you tried to take my woman. You know what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
wasn't it's not gonna end well. I mean, it will end well because we know what happens to him, but like in the immediate future, shit's gonna go down. You know what I mean? Something's gonna happen. And it's gonna be like, you're not taking my woman. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Oh no,
I
no,
mean,
no, no,
no,
no.
no. That's going to be something interesting to see in season 3, what
Mhm.
they actually do with that, and like if that completely gets forgotten about, or
I hope not.
they go back to Middle Earth, and he pulls up and is like, "Hey."
Well, he's still there. He didn't leave.
No, I think he left. I think he left on the boat.
How? I thought his father was banished, so he wouldn't be technically allowed either. Did he?
His father is banished, but he's not technically banished. I think
Oh,
they're
maybe.
because the son, or the nephew, I forget exactly who he is to the king,
Oh yeah,
was
the
playing the
little
card of like, your sister's going to be so happy to see you.
yeah, your
But I
little
think she's on
puppy.
the outs too.
She's getting there. She's getting there. There's something I think they're keeping her close for something. But she's not in that inner circle like she thought she was. That's what I'm
No,
thinking.
no, she's absolutely not in the inner circle.
No, because they're like, hey, listen, look, you're in, but seeing the man that your father was, we may have to keep eyes on you. And I think that's what it is. I think them just trying to keep eyes.
Yeah,
Because she's gonna know a lot. You know what I mean?
she's
Um,
eventually going to realize she's getting played.
she kind of played the guards on that
Hmm.
last episode because she's saying no one's here. And it was her father was there. He was getting ready to go. So
Yeah,
she's definitely playing both sides, which is gonna end really badly for her at some point. You know what I mean? They're gonna catch on. Then they're gonna
yeah,
realize you let him go, you're a traitor now. And then she's gonna wind up dying. Isildur is probably gonna go back to Numenor and be like, "Where's my sister? Oh, she dead."
she
And like
dead.
now he's gonna start going off. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
that's my assumption. Let's see it play out. That'd be great if it does. But if not, I'm still
yeah.
gonna be happy because it's gonna play out.
I feel like that's where the rings of power are going to be. I want to say, I think Sauron's not actually going to go to the king of Numenor, the now current king of Numenor, because he's already corrupted. He's already
Well,
he's
even
easily
that's
corrupted.
even better. That's even better for Sauron because it's less work for the rings to do.
True, but I think he's going to go after the other side because they have more to lose.
And here's the
They
thing:
have more to gain as well by using something that will give them power.
okay, you know what? You're right. You got a point there. I like that because you're right. Numenor is it's already wealthy. It's established. Granted, they're
Yeah,
going through their own crisis right now, but at the end of the day, they're technically in good shape until it
yeah.
decides to get flooded underwater, which is apparently still on the play.
Which, what causes it to get flooded underwater? Is it killing the rightful queen,
I so
and
I
the
think
Valar then sink it?
I think there's I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, but it seems like them doing things incorrectly and against the Valar and against elves has changed the course of the how do you call it? Prosperity of Numenor.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So now it's going to get to the point where it's like a I don't know, read the Bible, right? It's enough times you'll
Yeah,
see like, these apocalyptic events, you go against you go against the higher power and the higher power attacks back, nature
exactly.
in that case. So in theory, I'm thinking the same thing. The Valar is like, oh, you're not getting away with this. You killed the queen who was trying to make peace. You put in power a guy who's like a maniac. You're losing your touch with the elves. You don't want to have that connection. You want to say everything is, oh, Numenor did this, Numenor did. Like, no, it came down
Yeah.
from the elves. So like honor where your lineage came from. It came from the Valar. So if you have that connection with the Valar, I'm assuming things would be prosperity or prosperous. If it starts to wane against it, then that's gonna be like, okay, no, that higher power is like, I'm not letting it slide. So I think that's what's coming, and at least that's what's been like foreshadowed with the
Mm,
Palantir,
yeah,
and them seeing that all the time. It was always like a flood, giant flood,
flood.
and yeah,
Mhm.
and I think it's washing away all the negativity of Numenor. It got too pious. It's like one of those nations that are like, I'm the shit, and you can't mess with me.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? It looks like it's gonna get messy real quick. Um,
Mhm.
so I think that's where you're going to get a lot of mass migration from Numenor into Middle Earth, with a lot of the world of men coming into there, and then trying to recreate that with Gondor and all that other stuff. So we'll see.
Mm. Yeah. That's gonna be interesting.
Mm.
I think
I
there are
wonder.
still some, like, names and stuff that haven't been like, I think there's some lineage that needs to be settled out there, because I don't see
In
us be
Numenor,
getting
or
well, with Numenor and the establishment to, like, Gondor and all, like
well, if I'm not mistaken, the first king of Gondor is Isildur's father.
yeah,
So
right?
with him going to Middle Earth, that would essentially start the
That would
process of
start it,
that happening
and
in
then
the near future.
Isildur is the 2nd king, right?
Correct, and then it boils down from there.
And then isn't it from, like, Isildur to, uh,
Goes all the way down to Aragorn.
Aragorn? Yeah,
Mhm.
Aragorn.
Yep.
Well, isn't it, like, Isildur, Aragorn? It's not
No,
no one in
no,
between, right?
no, there's a bunch in between.
There is a bunch in between.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're talking about 3,000 years.
Well, also, uh,
Their years are a little
Aragorn
different.
lives for, like he's, like, 80 during The Lord of the Rings. He lives way longer because he's also a
He
half elf.
he's half elf, yeah.
Yeah. So,
It
like,
gets weird.
that whole connection too hasn't been, like, kind of established yet,
Well, because we're at the
and
end of
whether
the
it's
second
established
age.
earlier or later.
So after the Battle of Sauron, that essentially starts the third age, which is where the
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings trilogy hangs, and that's going to be roughly about 3,000 years, or another 2,000 years past all that. So then you get about 2,000 years of lineage, and then we get to the Fellowship of the Ring story. I think, if I gotta look at that again, but I know the end of
Yeah.
that fight starts the third age, because I
Yeah.
think, if I'm not 20, no. So in the Fellowship of the Ring, when Gandalf finds out about there being a ring, he goes to Minas Tirith and he reads the scribes, and
Mhm.
he says, yeah, it's like 34 of the second age is when that fight happens, when Sauron makes the rings. And then
Mhm.
after the fight, you get the third age. I don't know how many years spans from that though. I gotta figure that out again. I'll look into it.
Yeah.
Gotta do my homework again, you know what I'm saying?
That's gonna be the interesting point, because we already have, like we have the elves already set up, we have the dwarves set up, we have the men pretty well set up now,
The only ones we're missing are the half-foots.
but we got that coming now too. I
That's it.
really, really this was interesting with Gandalf and the Half-Foots and the Dark Wizard and
I
Tom
mean, let's
Bombadil.
the name drop of Gandalf was a crazy
Yes.
throw, because there were rumors that it was Gandalf, and we were like, oh, okay. Now this is where my issue with the show happens, right? I love
Okay.
the show. Everything happens. If Gandalf was around during all of this stuff, why the heck would he have to go all the way to Minas Tirith in the Fellowship of the Ring to find out what happens? If he knows all this, he's around for it. He's living through it. Why does he need to find information?
But is he really?
Well, in the Fellowship of the Ring, he goes and because he hears about the ring, right? He tells Frodo, I have to go away. He's got to look into some stuff, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Because he hears Bilbo say, My precious. He knows about the Gollum story because he was there for that, right? And we know that. He hears Gollum say, My precious. Bilbo says, My precious. Instantly clicks. Okay, he's got something. Finds and then runs to Minas Tirith to find out about these rings. But
Mhm.
if he has to find out and do that, but he's around during the time of the rings being created, Sauron being at his prime, he knows that there's a war that happens at some point, which again, we haven't got to that point of the show yet. But during this age, there's a war that's coming up. It's coming down the pipeline. He's around during this particular war. If he knows about Sauron and his rings, why does he have to go research about this ring? You
That's
know,
where I think he's in the Southlands. So he's not even in Middle Earth essentially.
no.
He's
So
in that
The
he's
Southlands
he's
is
like
in there.
further south than like being in the Southlands, which becomes Mordor and Gondor and all that.
So then
I
he's
think he's
actually
below that, further down.
well. If so, the map of Middle Earth, Mordor is actually the furthest down south. So you got Mordor, Gondor, like that bottom half. That's the lowest half. If we are thinking that
But
he's
there
with,
is lands below that.
is there
Yeah, there's lands below that, and there's lands further to the east
right?
because there's men that come from the south and from the east to fight for Sauron.
Okay, you're right.
So I think Gandalf is down there. So, like, yeah, he understands that there's stuff going on, but he's concentrating on fighting the Dark Wizard.
Hmm. Okay,
Now, I feel like the Dark Wizard is actually Solomon. I
Saruman.
feel
Yeah,
Saruman. I always feel
yeah.
like I say his name wrong.
I feel like it is too, and I think that's kind of been teased a little bit now that we found out that this is Gandalf.
Yeah,
Um, but then it shows like these two have been at each other's throats since day one. And even though they kind of rectified some things over the years and stuff like that, they were never on the same page.
so I wonder because you have Sauron as being in white during the Lord of the Rings. I wonder if Gandalf actually ends up fighting him and then essentially killing him, but he's an Eastar, so Eastars can't die
Right. They
necessarily.
essentially come back, right?
They come back.
Hmm.
So he comes as the white, and now that becomes a whole new like he actually comes back as being good, ends up helping everybody, establishes the new like wizard order up there,
Hmm.
and then slowly gets corrupted again.
I mean, that could be a possibility. I mean, it's enough time, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
it looks like when they fly down from wherever they're flying down, they're old as hell anyway.
exactly, right?
So they just come back old again.
And
That must
right,
suck.
you're
You're
never young.
born, you're born and like into this Benjamin Button like lifestyle, but you never get younger. You just get older.
Just get old.
You
Just
just
keep
stay
on
old.
getting older.
Yeah, you
Just
stay
change your
flat.
hairstyle a little.
Yeah, you might get a perm and straighten it out a little bit, get it
Yeah,
bleached a little white. You know what I mean? If you get a little cooler, but there's levels
yeah,
to this wizard stuff.
right. But the
I mean,
drop of his name was pretty damn good.
so it
I
was
I
interesting
love
because
that.
I was wondering because, and this is the part I was telling you earlier, it was like I had to stop, rewind, subtitle it just to make sure because I heard Gandalf when the little half-blood said
Mhm.
it, right? And I'm like, what? Oh no, 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 no. So then I go rewind, subtitle it, play it, and it says Grand Elf. And I'm like, okay. So I thought. Then he goes over to Tom And then he says, "Oh, they're gonna call me Gandalf," and I'm like, "I
Gandalf.
knew it, bro."
Yes. Yes. Oh,
I
that
did
was
it.
such
Like I had my
a Game of Thrones moment of like, Hodor,
yes,
hold the door. Hodor, Hodor,
yeah.
Hodor. Yes. I heard it the first time. They're like, Grand Elf. Thank you, Gandalf. Thank you, Gandalf. And the more they said it, I'm like, oh, it's Gandalf.
Yeah.
They just revealed Gandalf
And it was
right
almost like
there.
one of those tongue twisters. You know what I mean? Like at some point, somebody was gonna slip and say Gandalf.
Yeah.
But it was so interesting. And Tom was just like, or Gandalf goes, "They'll call me Gandalf," and he goes, "Mm-hmm." And I'm
Mm.
like, "Oh, we got it. It's solidified. That's it." So, but this
And
is
he
great.
only solidifies it when he finds the staff,
Mhm. The head
which you
founds his staff.
see in the destruction right before he actually gains control
So funny
and
enough,
saves them.
when he got the staff, that was my first clue that he was Gandalf. The staff is exactly the same. It has the swirl on the top. It's almost like an orb. And I looked at it and I'm like, that looks like Gandalf's staff. Then they said the whole Grandolph thing. I'm like, can't be a coincidence, bro. Can't be a coincidence. And then I heard like go see the part where he says they're gonna call me Gandalf. I'm like, I knew it. My guy, it's Gandalf. And it's like,
I
oh,
was on
this
it
is
already.
dude. It was such a good nice throw. It was one of those like again, the episode wasn't as crazy as seven, but
Oh
that
yeah,
little like throw in just made that episode go from just being
yeah,
okay to like, holy crap.
crap. Yeah,
Um, but I
that
like
and
how
the
okay,
other holy crap moment of the sword.
the sword, the sword.
Yes, the sword.
What the hell was it called again?
Nazgul? Naz. I'm saying it
Not
wrong.
god dang
It's
it. Plus,
it's Naz something, and it translates as the flame of the west.
yes.
And they said that in it, and it's like, oh,
Oh, bro. Because that's the ring that cuts off Sauron's hand.
yep,
That's the one. That's I
yeah,
can't
the
remember the damn
shard of
name. This sort of Numino.
it's like Naz something. It is.
Oh,
I
I
can't.
gotta look it up. I gotta look it up.
I'm saying it wrong. Yeah, what is it?
I'm gonna find out right now. Oh, Narsil. Shards of Narsil. That's
Narsil.
what it is. Yes,
Narsil. There we go.
that's what it
Yeah,
is. I had to think about it. Yeah,
yeah. The
Narsil. Yep.
shards of Narsil.
Yeah.
Yes. That
Man.
was the craziest things. Is Gandalf this episode giving the name Gandalf and having Narsil in full form be dropped in there, and you're like, okay,
Hmm. Yeah, it's
here
a
we go.
nice. This is where it gets real.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? This is the stuff that we're starting to see, and I think it's awesome. I think it's teasing me to be like, get ready for season three because season three is going to be a wicked fun time.
I feel like season 3 is going to be. I guess if we do some predictions, I'm gonna say season 3 is going to deal more with men.
Hmm.
Obviously, I think it's going to get the Numenorians from Numenor to be traveling to Middle Earth and actually establishing kingdoms there.
Yeah, yeah. They're gonna
I
try
would
to
agree with you.
recreate.
It's going to be the fall of Numenor, and
I
that's
think
going to be the
yeah,
prominent story.
and I think that's a good play on it because the first season was it wasn't really for a specific race. It was more of like,
Mhm.
I mean, it was, I guess, in a way, because you saw the elves, like the light of the Eldar tree, whatever, like that was feigning. Um, so we were starting to see like the elves. Like the season one was primarily about the elves. Season two definitely is primarily about the elves, but also more so the dwarves because
Oh,
you
the
saw like
dwarves,
all of the
yes.
dwarves so much more. And then they started teasing like, oh, Numenor this and then whatever like that. But now the world of men is going to come to a crash come season three,
Yeah.
and that's going to set the stage for this battle. which obviously we're not going to get that till season 5. They're going to wait that to the end, which is totally fine, because we still have to also see the Shire. We got to see the Half-Foots get to the Shire.
Yeah, which
You know what I mean?
we're now well on the way for that,
Hmm.
especially since the southern Half-Foot tribe has no home and has to
Right.
travel.
They have to
And
travel.
Nori has to leave Gandalf to shepherd them
Hmm.
there.
Yeah.
Nori and Poppy now become the leaders that bring them to where the Shire is.
Yeah. So we may get that next season also, or maybe that might be season 4. Like, because we didn't really get their story in season 2 was very like light.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was just like, hey, don't forget we have Nori and Poppy doing their quest with Gandalf now.
Yeah.
While everything is happening, that still is happening too. So don't forget it. So they just kind of tease us here and there. Um, I think, yeah, if anything, we might see that in season 4 when they just everything's getting settled for them. Because here's the thing, they don't really they're not a part of the final battle. We don't really see much about the hobbits. It's just a nice throw-in to know that the hobbits were, they were essentially just wanderers, trying to find their home. So
Mhm.
not always like the uh small little houses and all that stuff. They didn't have that at first. So
Yeah.
nomadics. There you go. They were nomads. But yeah, it'd be good to see that because they got to see the Shire built, and apparently they've been there. They just never figured out how to get it back.
Well, I think that's the thing. They say to stick to the song. So
Hmm.
I think the song is the route to get there,
Yeah.
and that's they'll realize like, yeah, they got there and then they couldn't find their way home because they weren't following the song right.
Hmm.
So they couldn't find their way back to actually get the rest of the tribe to go back up. So it's going to be interesting. I think we'll probably see a little bit of that in the next season.
Hmm.
But I think that was literally to give us that's where I was calling he's Gandalf from the beginning, because who else is befriended by halflings or half-foots, you
Yeah, it
know,
shows how he becomes very
embedded.
close to, yeah, like he like their culture. Like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
He is what A helps them get to where they need to be, but he's also been there from the beginning of them and they're like wandering, and not beginning of it, but like them
Yeah.
officially finding their space. You know what I mean? Like he was like there. Um Plus you could see that too with like him and his relationship with Nori. Like it was never anything that happened to Poppy. If it was happening to Nori, he was more on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let me find out Gandalf got a thing for short people.
Yes, he does.
He like them short.
He loves him some half-foots.
Oh man.
Halflings.
Damn. That still blows my mind that that was Gandalf, man.
Yeah. I think it was brilliant. And I
I
think
thought
the
so
play
too.
of it I think the play of it was and I think the play of the Dark Wizard, like, kind of using the men as like, no, I'm like actually on his side, and then flipping on him when he's not getting what he wants out
Yeah.
of it
Yeah.
was very much of like, oh, okay, yeah, you're not going to do what I want. I don't care about these people anymore. Like,
Hmm. Yeah. I think it's any predictions on when we'll get the next season?
I feel like I feel like this season actually has more traction to it than the first season.
I agree.
I don't think the first season was as popular as the second season is now. And frankly, I think after the first season, like, people were like, all right, if you'd never come back, I don't care. I think
Mhm.
now we're actually looking at it going like, we want you to come back. But
Yeah.
Amazon's so crazy anymore that, like, I mean, there was the strike, there was COVID and all these things. So maybe we'll get it faster. they're seeming to work on things faster, so maybe we get something next year. I think that's an outside possibility. I think most definitely 2 years.
I hope not. I feel like
I hope it's shorter. Yeah.
yeah, I think now I feel like with the writer strike being away, Jeff Bezos got the bread and be like, "Hey guys, flaunt it." You know what I mean? Give me another $1 billion episode.
Yeah.
That episode 7, well, I don't care what anybody says. That's where all of the budget went. It went to that damn episode.
One
Um,
episode of battle. Yeah.
one episode, and it was perfectly done. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
And it felt
they
perfect.
that actually for me felt like the finale. And then I'm like, oh damn, there's still one more. And I thought it was gonna be like even more crazy. But I said that was more subtle, more chill, you know what I mean, more revealing as
But that's
opposed to
also Lord
like
of the Rings. We get the big battle, and then we still yet get the scene of Frodo surviving.
hmm
He survives, and then see still yet Aragon become king.
yeah.
You know, like we see the outcome of it. We see them going to the western coast and leaving.
hmm
Like I feel like that was very much the rhythm of Lord of the Rings. You get this crazy event and everything that comes out of it, and this is the big climatic event of it all. And now we're going to show you, on the other hand,
Like what happens behind the
how it
scenes.
all settled.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
what do you think for season 4? Season
Season
3.
see, I was about to
Not
say like,
season
whoa,
4.
we skipped
Season 3. Sorry.
I'm
I'm jumping
I'm
right to season 4. I
bro, yeah,
honestly, I think the next season sets up Numenor and all that. I think we get closer to like the big battle in season 4,
I think
not in the next one.
well, so we got to think he has just only so Sauron just became leader of the orcs. He still
Mhm.
has to go to Mordor. He hasn't gone yet.
Yep.
And there's still orcs there. He's probably got to win them over. He's got to win the trolls over. He's got to, you know what I mean? Like there's, and then the Nazgul, right? So like, where do we get the Nazgul at? The Witch King of Agmar. Where do we see this guy? Because technically, the Witch King, if I'm not mistaken, was the right hand man of Sauron.
Yeah.
So where do we start getting that? So we're gonna see the building of the army.
But do
Uh,
we get him before? No, because the Nazgul are the 9.
the nine, right? So that's gonna be a while. That's gonna be
So
more
you're
so
not
to the
getting the
end.
9 until after the big final battle, after Sauron is killed.
I thought the nine were around during that fight.
No. They're the men that actually wore the rings, because one of the riders is not Isildur, his son.
He's Isildur's son.
Is Isildur's son.
Oh shoot.
Because
Okay.
Isildur dies killing Sauron, or like attempting to kill Sauron. And then his
No,
son, isn't his son the one that actually
no.
cuts the ring off? Or am
So
I getting it wrong?
yeah, so no, Isildur's father, who we see that left Numenor, that guy, I forget his name.
Okay, yeah.
Isildur's father is um he's at the battle, but Isildur essentially takes the ring off of Sauron. He cuts it
So,
off.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he is wearing one of the rings of men, and he
Oh.
is corrupted later on.
Ew.
So he is one
Okay.
of the Nazgul and became corrupt.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. Interesting.
That's one of the like little like tidbits that I absolutely do know when it comes to
I'm gonna
like
have
the
to. I
extended
gotta.
lore.
Yeah, I gotta go into that more because there's gonna be so
Yeah.
much stuff. Like I was talking to somebody about it the other day, and they were like, "Would you think of the the ghost that Aragorn brings to that battle of Pelennor Fields? Do we see those guys? Because those guys are all men.
Yeah. They are.
You know what I mean? They're all
They're
men
sworn
from
swords.
So where do we
Ooh,
see those guys come in? Because there was a king of them.
and
Who
they're
was that king?
seafaring. They're actually seafaring people,
So what
I
if
believe,
that's Numenor's guard?
and they never showed.
hmm And they had to
Mm,
redeem themselves by showing up in the afterlife. You know what
interesting.
I mean? I was talking and I'm like, oh, I didn't even think of that because I forgot about that whole
Oh,
scene.
yeah.
And then again, the Witch King of Agmar. That the Witch King, I thought was always present at that time because he had another tower. So you had Sauron had his tower in Mordor, and then you had Minas Morgoth, I think it was. Minas
Yeah.
Morgoth was the Witch King's home. So I'm assuming that the Witch King is present during this time frame, or at some point we find out who he is
Who he
because
is.
he's the right hand man of Sauron.
Yeah.
So,
Well, maybe it's actually the current king of Numenor.
oh snap! Oh snap! Blew my mind there. That could be totally it. Totally it.
Could be.
That could be his best friend.
Because
They're
he could
both
become
freaking crazy.
I could totally see him become obsessed with power, and he just touched uh the viewing glass, the viewing
The
orb,
Palantir?
the Palantir. Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah. Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He just
yeah, give
touched
me
the
that.
Palantir, and I could see him become obsessed with that power.
Mhm. Easily
Yeah.
corruptible. Easily corruptible. He won't even need a
He's
ring. He'd be like, "Take me, brother."
yeah. And then you give him a ring, and then it's like, oh, okay. You know.
And that'd be crazy because then
And
he gets
Sauron could
killed.
play all the sides, could literally be like, hey, Isildur, here's a ring to combat him, to fight him. And now you have a whole yeah.
Frank. Frank, you just blew my mind, bro. Blew my mind. Because we all know how deceitful Sauron is and how he's
Mhm.
so persuasive. And he could just be like, yeah, man, just this is gonna help you out with your battle and not know that there's repercussions to the damn ring. Oh my god, it's
Yup.
genius.
Because I think he has to get the rings into people's hands before he ever forges the one ring
Yeah.
in
And we get
order to
that.
actually I think you're see, I feel like the next season is setting up where all the 9 rings end up. If this is a 4-season plan, season 4 is
Five
forging the
seasons.
one ring.
They're
Is
talking
it
about
5
five.
seasons?
Yeah, they're talking about 5 seasons. I
Okay,
I,
then
I
4
think
is definitely attempting to forge the one ring, and 5 is the big battle, is the big
go.
war.
Yes. Yes. Let's get it. Let's go.
All I know is cheers to Amazon on this show now. It definitely has captivated the Lord of the Rings community, whether it was good, bad, or ugly. We're
Yeah,
talking about it.
we're talking about it. And here's the thing: you just so happen to have it where it's two guys that are completely optimistic about the show.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely,
I've gotten the
absolutely.
conversations with some people, and guess what? It wasn't the same conversation.
No, no, and
Uh,
that's what I'm saying. But you have people talking about it, whether it's good, bad, or ugly.
mhm.
You know, even the people that are hating on the show
I'll talk
are
about it.
still talking about the show, and they still have most likely watched the show.
Oh, they had to. In order for them to talk bad
Yeah,
about it, you had to watch it.
yeah.
It's just,
So
you know what I
like,
mean?
Amazon's winning.
Either way, my thing is we understand they couldn't get the full license for the whole Tolkien world, right? The fact that they're making something, yes, it's not 100%. I totally get it. A Tolkien fan is going to get pissed off because it's not Tolkien, but it's good quality television, man. Like it, like enough with the whole this, that, and the third. Like we've seen what Sony does to Spider-Man characters and botch it. We
Mhm.
talk about it every single time, and it
Every time.
never, every time. Lord of the Ring or Amazon wants to do their own thing, and people are so butthurt that is not how Tolkien originally wanted. Man, take a page out of Sony and you talk crap about them and tell them to stop making these movies.
Yeah.
Like if you're not going to talk crap about Sony, then don't talk about Amazon. I'm just going to put it out there because it's not a bad show. Yes, there's inconsistencies with how the characters look, but it's a beautiful show. I'm telling you, that episode 7 was literally my threshold. It's up here now.
Mhm.
It made it go from like, oh, this is a cool show to like, oh my god, this show is crazy. And
Yeah.
if you start looking at it in that point of view, don't think of it as Lord of the Rings. Yes, it has the Lord of the Rings title, but what
Yeah.
if it was just called Rings of Power? No Lord of the Rings tie. Would you
Yeah.
watch it and would you say it's a good show then? You know?
Oh, definitely.
So people just
Yeah.
gotta get out of them. They just gotta get out of their mentality. Like just watch it for good quality television. You know what I mean? It's not bad. Not a bad show at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I've definitely been pleasantly surprised with how this season 2 has gone. Season after season 1, I was kinda like, well, let's see." And then it just got better and better and better, and they
Hmm.
kept on dropping little things here and there that were fantastic. You got to see the gate made.
Hmm.
The gate made,
Indeed.
and they dropped, "This gate will be for friends." Like,
We all
we're
know it.
just
We
we're
all know it.
peppering all of the details into it so that it feels more and more like the Lord of the Rings movies, which I was watching a documentary the other day of, like, how Lord of the Rings movies actually got made. They almost never got made
Mhm,
at all, and you had bad attempts all along the way.
mhm.
So, like, what if all we had was those bad attempts and now this? This is
Yeah,
way better
I
than the
think the
bad
issue
attempts.
I think the issue was, um, Peter Jackson did his thing with the original. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Coming from a time where CGI was used, but it wasn't primarily used, like, a lot of it was actual practical effects.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and they made that universe real. A lot of people with the Amazon show is the first thing they gravitated is to, "It's $1 billion, but the CGI is garbage." I don't care about the CGI. They don't look that bad to me. I've seen worse. I've
Yeah.
seen tons worse, you know? Oh,
We've
the
seen worse
uniforms
than
and the
Marvel.
armor. Yeah, like Marvel dropped the ball multiple times, and Amazon's actually doing a pretty decent job. So I'm gonna give them that. People complain about the armor not being authentic. That doesn't look too far off. Yes, Elrond's, you know, uh garments and stuff may not look like he did in the movie, but it's cool. This isn't supposed to be that particular moment right now. This is before that moment. We
Mhm.
didn't see these moments. These are moments that have never been shown on screen. So leave it the hell alone. If that's how they want to do it, let them do it. But if the outcome winds up being the same and it still leads into the Lord of the Rings that we know and love, then what's the problem? This is a story that we didn't know about. This is a story that we're getting told for the first time. Just accept it and enjoy it. Now, if it winds up being that the is not how it was in the original movies, then we got a problem. But
Yeah.
right now we don't have that. Right now everything's pretty much lining up, not to the T, but it's lining up. And it's pretty close. I'm not mad about it. Just let it go. Let it go.
Let it go.
Oh God.
No. No. This is not Disney.
Why we
We're
gotta bring
gonna
Disney into this? Sound like Mike. Oh, we
Mickey's
bringing in
Mickey's gonna hold the knife on us.
Mickey's gonna buy Jeff Bezos out.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that'll be the day.
That'd be crazy. Alright, so wrapping it up. If you guys are watching the series, follow along with us. Tell us what you're thinking about the show. We'd love to interact more with you. Drop it down in the comments. Tell us everything you're liking, you're hating. Whether you think the show can continue, whether you think season 3 is going to be great, 4 or 5, what do you feel about it? I know I'm kind of really excited to see a next season whenever we do get it. So, like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to pull that seat up to the table and join the conversation. George, any last comments?
Yeah, guys. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If there's any show that is off of our normal topics that you want us to dive into, I'm sure I'd be willing to jump into it. I need new
Mhm.
shows to watch now. So if you guys have any shows that you want us to kind of dive into, please let us know. I'm happy to do it. Frank's very happy to do it. Maybe we can drag one of the other guys along. So yeah, drop that in the comments below, and hopefully we can drop in some new episodes.
Yeah. Till then, we got to geeks at the nerd table. Deuces.
Peace.